and you have to guard your soul. This is explicit in the commentary of Kli Yakar on that verse in Deuteronomy. He tells us that this verse is teaching us the crucial importance of taking care of yourself physically and emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And this is clear from the outstanding Torah work in all of Jewish history, the work that is probably quoted more than any other work in the extensive library of our Torah bookshelf, and that is the Mishnah Torah of Rambom. Rabbi Moshe and Maimon, the outstanding codifier of all of Jewish law as it applies in the time of the Temple, in the time when we all live in Israel, and for the times when we are in exile, for the times when we are away from our home. Mishnah Torah is the universally accepted code of Torah law, consisting of 1,000 chapters covering every aspect of halakha, from beliefs and attitudes to the festivals, the prayers, to marital life, business life, life in the temple, the sacrifices, purity and impurity, the judges, the Sanhedrin, until the conclusion of the book, Melech HaMoshiach, the laws of kings and the laws of how we know when Moshiach will be with us, B'mheira Yomeinu. The opening section of Mishnah Torah is called Yesodei HaTorah. Maimonides opens with the first mitzvah. It is a mitzvah to know our God. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God. It is a mitzvah to be in awe of God, to love God, to believe in God's prophets, the very elements of our faith. Right after this comes the second section, Hilchot De'ot, the laws of De'ot. That's a little hard to translate this word De'ot well in English, because the concept of De'ah means the kind of mind a person has, his mental attitude. There's no single word to express Hilchot De'ot in English, but the content of Hilchot De'ot is how to be a mensch, how to be a true, real person who has dignity, who conducts his life in a proper way, in a sensible way, in his family life, the way he relates to people, the way he feeds himself and drinks. Now, I've just said the word, the way he feeds himself and drinks. Before Rambam embarked on this huge voyage around the entire Torah, around the whole of the 613 mitzvahs, the Torah commandments, and all of their rabbinically enacted details, he begins Hilchot De'ot, chapter 4, with the classic phrase that should be at the beginning of all of our education in the Torah. He tells us that bodily health and well-being are part of the path to God, because it is virtually impossible to know anything or understand anything of the Creator if one is sick. One must therefore avoid anything that may harm the body and cultivate healthful habits. These are the opening words of Rambam, Hilchot De'ot, chapter 4, paragraph 1. The care for our bodies, the avoidance of what is damaging to the body, and the embrace of what is helpful to the body is part of the path to God. And this links up with what I spoke earlier about, Tishamer Lecha Ushmar Nafshecho Ma'od. Take care of your body and take care of your mind and soul. We have in the ensuing chapter in Hilchot De'ot, in about 25 paragraphs, a synopsis of the healthy lifestyle, covering how we eat, how we exercise, hygiene, how we sleep, sexual behavior between man and wife, keeping ourselves clean, all in one synoptic single chapter. And the particular word that I'm going to be speaking about in a little while, which Maimonides, Rambom, wrote for the Sultan of Egypt, is very welcome to students of the Mishnah Torah because it greatly amplifies and explains all of the things which Rambam saw fit to put at the very beginning of his Mishnah Torah as guidance to his people, to the countless students who would learn and read the Mishnah Torah. Thereafter, the work that I'm going to be speaking about, the healthcare regimen or the guide to good health, which Rambam wrote for the Sultan of Egypt, is a very welcome amplification. But before I come to that, I would like to just say a word about who this giant among giants, Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, was. Because, as the Sephardim particularly know, Moshe ad Moshe lo haya Moshe. These are the words of one of the Sephardi Piyutim that tell us from Moshe Rabbeinu until Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, there was no one like Rambam. Rambam was born in the year 1135, that is well over 870 years ago, in Cordova in Spain, where his father, Rabbi Maimon, who is buried right next to Rambam in Tiberias, as those of you who have visited there will know, Rabbi Maimon, the father of Rambam, was his teacher. There are many legends about how Rambam, as a little boy, was unable to understand anything, and he came eventually to understand in the clearest, most lucid way. Rambam was one of the most outstanding ever scholars and teachers of our Torah, who covered the entire Torah literature, the Bible, needless to say, and the Talmud, needless to say, the Jerusalem Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, and all of the surrounding literature, the Sifra, the Mechilta, the Tosefta, all of the surrounding literature. He mastered it all. And as if that were not enough, he was the most outstanding mathematician, he was the most outstanding astronomer, he was the most outstanding philosopher, a master of all of the ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, whose ideas he transcended in his endeavor to show the truth of our Torah philosophically in the Guide for the Perplexed. And for our purposes, Rambam is the outstanding healer of all the generations, acknowledged not only by our Jewish people, acknowledged also by the nations of the world, the Gentiles. Many of Rambam's medical writings have been translated into multiple languages, starting with Latin, and in the days before printing, a couple of hundred years before printing, Rambam's works were being translated into Latin and been studied by scholars in Europe. There were some of them, and many of them were written in Arabic and spread through the world of Arab speakers. At the age of less than 20, Rambam and his family had to flee from Cordova from persecution against Jews, and they fled then to North Africa in about 1155, and they spent until about 1165 in North Africa, and it was there that Maimonides began his association with numerous doctors who were assembled in the place where he was present. And Rambam composed an extraordinary library of medical writings.